You are now live with me, G3, and tonight is a night that I have waited for months, literally months, because I have waited to interview this man for such a long time, Mr. Boy Abunda, the king of talk. So much that I prepared for this interview. We did a test run like 15 minutes earlier, but before that, I want to thank like all of my friends that helped me put together this episode. First and foremost, the designer of my top, Neric Beltran. I want to thank him for giving me this top and making me wear it tonight. I also want to thank Mix Mojo, my drink sponsor, Sir Deo Adrenal and PJ Adrenal. If you want to order their drinks, you can go to Mix Mojo on Instagram. Also, my water sponsor, Evian. So this is my water sponsor, and I want to thank Evian for, supplying me with water, not just for me, for my mom and my family. Okay, so let us not wait any further because we did a test run kanina. I'm so excited to have tonight as the one and only king of talk. Wait, may party sa likod. Party in the back. The one and only king of talk, Tito Boy Abunda.
Okay. Finally, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you.
Nag-work na, no? Nag-work na, Tito Boy.
Oh, nga, we had to move places. I was downstairs. We moved to another place, and we moved here because I could not possibly miss this interview. Thank you, G, for having me here.
Thank you so much for saying yes. It's so good to see you. You have no idea. I missed you so much.
How can anybody say no to you?
Kamusta ang iyong bakasyon na 1 week? Bakasyon grande na 1 week sa Tagaytay?
Hindi bakasyon yun, G. Meron kaming munting rest house sa Tagaytay. Meron kaming pinagawa dito sa Maynila, kaya medyo maingay, hindi conducive to work. So there are days that I spend in Tagaytay and Lipanao, our other farm. But this is one of the biggest discoveries I've had during the pandemic. I discovered Tagaytay. We've had this property for like 9 years now, and I only slept in the house last November.
Wow!
Di ba?
Kamusta tulog mo? Kamusta tulog mo?
Maganda. Napakalamig ngayon. Right after this conversation, I'm going home to Tagaytay. I'm going to do paperwork. That's what I do. I read books there. I do a lot of stuff in Tagaytay. And I garden. Well, I garden in Lipa.
You garden in Lipa. I saw your last vlog about gardening. Uy, ang ganda ng mga plants mo. Yung mga plantita, sobrang inget. What was the last book you read?
I am reading now The Promised Land of Obama.
Oh, wow.
I'm reading the Trump book. And I'm rereading a book called When Breath Becomes Air. Okay?
How is it?
Okay, alam mo pag nagbabasa ako ng libro, G3, depende kung nasa ang lugar ako sa bahay. Meron akong librong binabasa dito, may binabasa dito. I don't read books singularly. I talk to many books. Kasi to me, reading books is like a conversation. Madumi ang mga libro ko eh. Sinusulatan ko ng notes. I debate with my books. I agree, I disagree. I explore with my books.
Such a genius to be able to multitask, reading preferences. I can only read like one book at a time. Like if I feel like by chapter 3 hindi siya nag-interest sa akin, bibitawan ko na yan, lilipat na ako sa iba. Pero ikaw parang like, you have books all over the house. It only goes
sanayan lang, G. Sanayan lang. Because I get bored.
You are.
No, but I get bored with just one book. It's like having to talk to different people in a house. Like, totoo yun. I enjoy political books here. I enjoy, hindi lang ako mahilig masyado sa fiction. I like marketing books. I like branding books. I finished during the pandemic, Me of Elton John. I read Meryl Streep's book. I like Judi Dench. So parang nakikipag-usap ka sa iba't ibang tao sa bawat kanto ng iyong bahay. That's how it is. I don't think it takes really a lot of genius to be able to do that. It's kasanayan lang. Sanayan.
So when are you gonna write your book? Like a book of your own?
No, I have. I've had some books for ABS-CBN, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. Your memoir.
It should be it should be in the works a couple of years from now. I should be able to write a book. But right now, I'm working on a management book. It's called, I've been trying to do this for the past years now. It's called 13 Things I Know About Managing Public Figures in the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm busy with now. It's a management
13.
book. 13 things I know. It used to be 10. Sabi nung kaibigan ko, but 10, gawin mong 13. Sabi ko, oo nga, para madagdagan. So I made it 13.
Lucky number 13.
Tama, it's also my lucky number. Actually, nagsabi sa akin ito si Matek Villanueva, president formerly of...
Matek, Ateneo.
Yes, and formerly president of Publicis, Jimenez. She was the one who told me, why are you limiting the things you know to 10? Dagdagan mo yan. So dinagdagan ko. Dali naman akong kausap.
That's true, that's true. How was it like finishing school in Ateneo? Because I'm also Atenista.
I know you're Atenista. I didn't finish school at the Ateneo, G3. I started my college at the Ateneo. I had over X number of units. Reason being, I am considered an alumnus, but I spent I just spent something like 2 years at the Ateneo, nice years. And I quit school because Tatay had passed on during the time. We couldn't afford it anymore. And I roamed the streets of Manila. I started to work for the theater, and then I was brought to television. That's the short of the long story. And then I went back to school. I went back to Philippine Women's University, which very kindly accommodated and counted my units at the Ateneo. So I took the ETIA program. I graduated my college. I took up my master's. I went for my doctoral degree in social development in 2016.
How does your education define you as a man?
No, to me, education comes from both the walls of the academe and every day, you know, the mistakes, the right things that you do, the words that you mispronounce, the books that you read, the things that you failed to do, the sins that you have committed. To me, it is the sum total of all this. I don't think I can be defined by just saying that I was educated at the Ateneo de Manila University or at the Philippine Women's University or by the many classes that I took. I think you are defined by the whole of what happens to you.
That's true. That's true. Experiences, the wealth and experiences, and you have that. You have that. 65 years old. Am I right? Am I
No naman, no
outing-
naman,
am
no
I
naman.
outing you?
No, you're not. But I thank you for raising that because that is on Wikipedia and that's wrong. I am not 65 years old, but I've always been totoo yun. And I had my lawyers actually write Wikipedia to make that correction. Pero I plead guilty. You know why it is 65? Because I've been lying about my age. I've been lying about my age. Yes. I've been lying about my age for as long as I can remember. Sometimes I would say I'm 52, I'm 48, I'm 59, I'm 60. My karma is Wikipedia. My sister, I think, is 65. She's older than I am. So I cannot
just 50?
be. I'm sorry?
Are you just 50?
No, I mean, I wish.
Are you a golden girl pala?
Yeah, but I'm a lot younger than 65. And that's a nice conversation because I've always been afraid to grow old at a certain point. Not anymore. Hindi na masyado. I've always been afraid to grow old because that's the currency of show business.
That's true.
You know, when you say you're old, you are on your way to irrelevance. You are on your way to being a has-been. So for the longest time, being a manager and being a talent by accident, I sort of, you know, distorted my facts in terms of my age. So the answer there is life has been good. I'll get to 65 one day soon. I'm not as afraid anymore as I was before to grow old. But there was a time I was horrified.
Yes, because age equates to experience, it equates to credibility. That's why probably you shot it off like that, right? Kasi
No,
when
no,
you're older, you're more wise.
Yeah, that's a good perspective, G3. Wisdom comes with age, but you have to be realistic that also when you grow older in our business, somebody comes around and does your job better or presents a different look, we're aware of that. We die, we kill for relevance. We care for, we kill and we care too much about premium, etc. So for the longest time, I'm a marketing guy. I do branding. I am an active citizen of the business, and I'm aware of that. Sabi ko nga, ang karma ko, and Bong would say this, ang karma mo, nagsisinungaling ka tungkol sa edad mo, ayan, naging 65 ka tuloy.
Pero nakakagulat kasi, di ba? Like 65 and yet you look so young. What keeps you young? Is it like super duper, you know, I mean like being surrounded by nature? Is it wealth? Is it like the friends that you keep, the love that you have in your life? What keeps you young?
It's all of the above. It's all of the above. It's nature, the friends. But the best thing about growing older also, G3, is you have less BS in life.
True.
You know, not just to other people, with other people, but to yourself. Except for the age thing, I think you're more you're more realistic, you're humbler, ito ang pandemya, ang dami mong na-realize, you know, I love it when, I think it was Bill Gates who did that speech.
Yeah.
When he said that during the pandemic, we were all confronted by our finitude, that we are all going to die, you know, so we might as well be nicer, kinder, more compassionate, better.
That's true. That's true. I was just gonna ask you what are the things that you learned about yourself during the pandemic? Because it was such a long stretch, and apart from that, a lot of things happened to us in terms of the end of broadcast. And you are the king of talk, diba? Everybody knows you as the king of talk. You say na parang you have this fear of being irrelevant, but nobody really has come after you. I mean, lang wala talagang sumunod. I mean, like wala talagang sumunod kay Tito Boy Abunda. Walang pumalit. In the advent of like the pandemic and the closure of ABS-CBN, losing that platform that you were a part of every day, and migrating into the digital space, how did that change you as a host, as the king of talk?
A lot. First of all, I was a king without a throne. I wanted, I wanted to be a queen, but no. The pandemic has taught me a lot of things. Ngayon kilala ko ng mga kapitbahay ko. Dati, for many decades, you go home, rest, and then you wake up, you eat, you dress up, you go to the studio, you go to your friends, and then that was a routine, the fame routine that many of us, used to enjoy and used to have fun with. I was never defined by fame. Pero itong pandemya changed us. It made us realize that everything is ephemeral, that it can stop any moment, that everything is fleeting, everything is borrowed, and that we were all fearful of this unseen virulent virus. We were all debilitated by the thought of the COVID. So, what happened? Nakilala ko ang mga kapitbahay ko, nakilala ko lahat ang mga kasama ko sa bahay, nakilala ko ang bawat kanto ng bahay ko, marunong na ako maglinis, I have become more prayerful, I think I have become more cognizant of my many limitations. Ang dami, I have become more prayerful today. I mean, every day, G3, we pray the Oratio Imparata every day. I think faith has become stronger. Relationships have become firmer in many ways, and it was frightening. And then in the middle of this, July 10, ABS-CBN closed, shut down, and it was terrifying. It was terrifying, and sabi ko nga, it was as if I lost another mother. It was as if, I became an orphan again. I said that in one of my posts. So, ang natutunan ko ay, you're never alone, and that I didn't realize how resilient we are. I am. I didn't know how it happened, but we survived 2020, and I can only say I attribute that to God's kindness.
That's true. God's grace and God's
Yeah,
kindness. God's
yeah,
grace, everything, you realize that you're not in control of anything. It's really God
yeah.
that is in control. But the closure also brought us to, hasten the digital migration, and you are now a YouTube star. My God, 2.2 million views. Paano mo nagagawa yun, Tito Boy? How do you feel about being in YouTube and being a YouTube star in this new platform?
Just the other day, I was telling one of my admins, sabi ko, paano ba yun? Yung, please subscribe to the Boy Abunda Talk channel. How do you do that? Who writes the spiel? Sabi niya, sir, sabihin mo lang, mag-subscribe kayo sa YouTube channel. I'm learning. I'm reconfiguring my career as a talk show host, and I'm enjoying it. I am not even repositioning, but I'm learning new tricks. I'm doing not just interviews, but I'm doing a lot of things that are so much fun. I don't know if I'm doing some things right, but I'm just like 4.5 months. It's to 5 months. So I'm not even sure yet as to where I'm gonna go. But sabi ko nga kanina, G3, alam ko ang brand image, alam ko ang larong ito, alam ko, naiintindihan ko academically ang digital platform. So I'm in there. I'm a neophyte. I'm learning the new platform, and I am just an excited student.
Pretty exciting, right? Pretty exciting.
Yes.
I've been watching your YouTube episodes over the months, and some of the topics and the episodes you've done are pretty controversial. I want to mention the one of BB Gandanghari. You had a whole episode about that, and what I liked about that is because everyone was shooting her down, but you were the one who took her side and said, like, her narrative is her own. If you are a part of her narrative, then it is her right to tell you. Because everyone was saying, you have no right to out somebody. You have no right. But if that is a part of your narrative, then it's every bit of your right. What can you say about that? Because you took her side.
No, thank you. Well, I didn't take her side as opposed to I wanted to put in the right context. I wanted to contextualize. I wanted to put in a perspective from someone like me who knows both the guys involved and who has a little bit of knowledge about the gender spectrum and who is also cognizant of our cultural mindset, that the traditional mindset of gender. So I wanted to go into it, G3, because I owed it to myself and to the future generation of gay men and women and LGBT people.
Transgender,
Because
yeah.
that was a time in my life when I felt I didn't want to give anybody permission to define us, the way everybody just thought about gender. So my little contribution there was the person who can identify the gender of a person is the person himself or herself.
That's true.
And that's very important. And if you are not aware of this, you have the power, you have the capacity, you have the wherewithal to read up on what we're talking about. But if you want to understand properly, the principal message of that analysis was, simple lang, tao lang kami. Yun lang, doon tayo mag-umpisa. Hindi kami iba sa'yo, hindi kami iba sa nanay, tatay, hindi kami iba kung sino ka man nakikinig ngayon, mag-umpisa tayo doon. May paggalang, may pagmamahal, naiintindihan namin yon. Doon sa kontrobersiya that BB was outing, halimbawa, PJ or anybody for that matter, he owns his story, and I stand by that. He owns his story. In the beginning, he wanted to call the characters by other names. There was an effort and there was an intent to actually be courteous and polite in that particular vlog. But
discreet, yeah.
Yeah, I felt that, and this goes for everyone, G3, for women, for men, for boys, for girls. You own your story. You own your truth. Nobody does. So stand by that and take the risk. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Life is about, a series of risks. Tell your truth and take the risk. Do not be entitled.
This leads me to the flashback of the interview that you did with the other person involved on the buzz. And I just want to say, like, when they needed somebody credible, like credentials talaga, when they needed somebody credible to interview somebody regarding a very controversial topic, they would always come to you. Why do you think that you had this sort of credibility? Like, if there was a controversy, you bring him to Tito Boy. This was before the digital migration. This was before, like, the Twitters and, you know, the everything of this world. They would always bring the person of interest to you, and you would be interviewing that person. Why do you think that you had that authority in terms of interviewing the person of interest?
I'll answer the why a little later, but I am not a fan to being labeled as, I am flattered, I am grateful to being labeled as somebody credible. But that's very dangerous to me, because to be consistently credible is very difficult in the business. That is dependent on gloss. It is very difficult. And it's also very difficult to be credible in a platform where you service the enterprise and you have personal relationships with celebrities, and you got to give somewhere. That's the reason why I, not averse, but you know, I try not to go into that space of credibility. Why do people come to me? Because I prepare, G3. I think I am fair. I think I don't sit down in front of a guest with that agenda. I listen to stories. And I think people come to me because I am humble enough to say I am wrong when I am wrong. But lahat ng aking kinakausap, everybody I speak with to on air knows how much I prepared, just like you. You know, you prepared for this interview. I mean, obviously.
Only for this one. Only for this one.
No. You prepare because that is your way of showing respect. I'll share something with you, G3. Okay. Just a couple of days ago, I was watching series of interviews of Marlon Brando. He hated interviews. He hated formalities. He was an actor of the first order. Napunta doon sa pag-uusap about acting. That resonates actually to what Meryl Streep has been saying many times, that pretending is not just play. Pretending is imagined possibilities. Sabi ni Brando, hindi lang kami mga artista, tayo mga hosts, interviewers, we all act. Yeah. You know, in our minds we say, what is my next question? What is he talking about? Do people like me? Are people understanding what we're talking about? Are we relating? Am I asking the correct questions? That's acting, sabi ni Brando. And for the first time, I realized, oh nga naman, I've always denied it. I've always said, hindi naman ako artista. But tama nga naman, the moment you're on air, whether you are a broadcaster or an interviewer, to a certain point, yes, you are acting. Sabi nga ni Meryl Streep, it's a life skill for survival. I continue to learn.
Yeah.
It is. It is a life skill.
That's true. When you were interviewing him, did you think that he was telling the truth to you? Going back to like many years of the buzz, you know what?
2000 or 2001. That was not for the buzz. It was for a special called 11 Most Interesting People in the Philippines. Yeah. I don't sit in front of a guest as a judge. I don't. I will not judge you. I'm not saying I'm gonna bring in G3 to my show, and you're not gonna sit in front of me because I am a judge. I'm not, and I will not judge you based on your truth or what is not true. I will ask the questions. You know, I just did the Dasera interview, G3. Sabi ko dun sa the boys, no? When I was talking to the boys, I was talking to Mrs. Dasera. Sabi ko, your lawyers are here. If there's anything that would compromise you in this interview, you let me know, because I'll back off. But please don't stop me from asking the questions. Yun lang naman ang hinihiling ko eh. So, when people say, what do you do to anybody, not just to the one you're referring to politicians, to social scientists, to celebrities, what do you do when a person is lying? That is not my responsibility. That is for my audience to discern. That is for my audience to appreciate and to examine. But I will not sit in front of someone as a juror because I'm not a judge. I will not do that.
That's true.
G3, it's important to realize that if you come to a space where there is no judgment, that is the only time you're free. In my public speaking classes, because I teach public speaking classes,
That's true, yeah.
we always declare in the beginning of our classes that our space is a no judgment space, so that everybody can be free to explore and examine. And the most important point is not to judge others. Make sure not to judge yourself.
That's very healthy. That's very healthy. I mean, you have a very healthy self-perspective as well. And I think it emanates. That's why people really look up to you and come to you whenever they need like facts, whenever they need the truth. I mean, one of the most important, milestones for me in television is when you came to Bandila in 2011 and you started Ikaw Na. I don't know if it is because it's you or is it because of you're gay. Pero sabi ko, 3 anchors plus 1 gay anchor. Sabi ko, magkapantay. Pantay na pantay. And it was really the time when I realized na parang, okay, this is really revolution. I don't think people ever thought of that, but I felt like in my heart and in my mind, it was very revolutionary because they put a gay anchor in late night news. That for me was monumental. How did you feel when you became a part of the late night news and you were nakahilera with really, really, really credible anchors and you were given equal weight? What was the feeling like?
That's a layered question, because for the first time, I'll tell you the truth. It was not easy.
Marielle Padilla.
Hi, Marielle. Hi, Ma. I've been wanting to call you Ma, but I'll speak to you one of these days. G3, that's a layered question, because for the first time, I'll break this to you. It was not easy. There were people in the news department, were few. There were many people in the news department who were not welcoming of the idea that I would. But let me tell you, I think they needed my part on Bandila because they wanted to raise the ratings maybe, or they wanted to lighten it up a bit because it was this late evening news. For whatever reason it was, I was okay. But yes, I asked to sit beside them. I did ask. It was not as if it was given to me that you're supposed to be here. No, I asked for it. Not only because I thought I was an equal, but because I represent Julius, I represent Karen, I do their contracts. I mean, Cez is a very good friend of mine, and I am going to be in another table. That's unthinkable. I mean, I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow that. So if you want me to do the late evening news, I will open and close with you, because yes, I may lie about my age, but certainly I worked so hard to get where I was, and I am just as conversant, and I say it in the present tense because I still represent Karen and Julius, and Cez is such a dear friend. I am just as conversant as all of them in the language of politics and show business and the celebrity business, and there was no reason, simply because I am in show business, not to be sitting beside the anchors. I mean, that to me that was ridiculous. But it was not given to me. I'll be very honest. I asked for it. Yeah.
Okay.
I had a special table. I had a special table. I had a special table for Ikaw Na. But I had a special table, but every time the show would open, I would open with them and I would close with them. And there were even instances when there were breaking news items when I would participate in the Q&A with whoever it was. Yes.
I would visit the studio. I don't know if you remember, but like I would visit the studio, tas parang in-interview mo pa si Taylor Dane, mga ganyan. I would visit the studio. And I was just really so proud that a gay guy was in the late night news. I mean, like, it was unheard of. It was unheard of.
Yeah, but let me tell you.
Okay.
Let me tell you, G3. But of course, what made it easier was Karen, Julius, and Cez were just so generous. We're just so kind. We're just so friendly because off cam, we are just really friends. Ang isa pa that we need to discuss, G3, meron, at hindi lang ito dito sa Pilipinas, when you say show business, it's always lightweight. It's always, you're supposed to be flippant. You're supposed to be shallow and dummy and you're chismis. That has to change. The paradigm has to change. Because some of the most intelligent. Some of the smartest people I know are in show business. But this is still a struggle that we have universally. Even in the United States of America, there's still a demarcation between who are able to do the news and who are able to do entertainment. Ang feeling ko naman nun, and I thank Freddie Garcia for this, when I moved to ABS-CBN in 1999, right after I started on The Buzz, I went to Freddie and I said, Freddie, I want to be able to do a public affairs show. That's when I started Private Conversations with Boy Abunda, because sabi ko, Freddie, gusto ko malaman ng mga tao marunong ako mag-Ingles. Of course, that was a joke. That was a joke. But I wanted, sabi ko, Freddie, I wanted to do conversations. I can do conversations. I can do, my first guest was Deepak Chopra, the New Age philosopher. Yes, he was my first guest. So I wanted to break that. I wanted to blur that line that separates, the business of show. I'm doing The Buzz. Why can't I do a public affairs show?
That's true.
I mean, tell me, why not? Diba?
Hello to our
I will not give anybody that permission to box me. I will not give anybody that permission.
That's true. Just because it's entertainment doesn't mean it's less, of the news as,
And just because it
news
had
and
been
everything.
done the way it was done in the past doesn't necessarily mean that we cannot correct that.
There's a little shade to that. Hello to our kapamilyas, Jessa Samson and Nick Olanca, Direct Nick Olanca. Thank you for watching. Oh my God, Tito Boy, ang daming nagmamahal sa'yo. So anyway, I
know Nick Olanca. I haven't seen. Brilliant young director.
I only ask that because I don't know where broadcast is gonna go. I mean, I don't know where it's headed. Where do you think broadcast is headed after the closure of ABS and the merging of the powers, sort of, like ABS and TV5? Do you think that broadcast has the power to remain even at the onset of the, content democracy in streaming and online and everything? Where do you think broadcast is going to go in the next few months, years, in the next near future?
The first answer to that is I don't know. I don't think anybody knows where exactly broadcast is going to go. That's for certain, for sure. Number two, for broadcast to survive, it has to recognize what's happening now. It has to recognize the immense power of the digital platforms. It has to be able to meld the various platforms. It has to dance to an entirely different music without having to lose its soul. I don't know if the concepts of multi-platforms, crossing platforms, cross-platforms ideas would work, but the reason I say I don't know is because things have to be done and we have to see what works and what doesn't.
That's true.
And what doesn't. But I don't think broadcast will survive if it does not recognize the presence of, the presence of IG, the presence of social media, the presence of everything.
But I know IG.
Hindi, I'll answer that question. G3 parang ano lang to eh. You had a Big Bang sound. If you're a student of communications, you would know this. Dati, yun lang yun, and then it became radio, and then they were saying it's going to kill whatever, and then radio, television, wow, radio is going to go, until radio found its...
Star.
No, it found its niche because on radio you can play music forever, and then there was television and there's digital. We are going through the story of our journey. We're going through the story of our lives, not just as people in broadcast, but as humans. We are changing. We are evolving. We are evolving, and I think that's good. That's really good. Why don't I do IG? Why am I just on Facebook and on YouTube? I have admins because, number one, I'm fascinated with Instagram. But I am not inclined to go into Instagram. I mean, everybody's just so beautiful. Everybody's just so curated. It's a fantastic world of curation. I don't have the discipline for that. I don't have, but I have so much fun. I am fascinated. I enjoy browsing, but I'm not inclined to going there.
Oh my God, so lurker si Tito Boy.
I am a lurker. I'm a lurker.
We are used, by the way, we want to say thank you to Apples de la Vega.
Yes.
The EP of Tito Boy and my former EP because Tito Boy is using her IG page, diba? I want to say
Yeah,
hi,
but I see all these things happening on IG. I see all these things. Sabi ko nga sa iyo, G3, I'm a student. I mean, even if I don't do IG, doesn't necessarily mean that I don't know the history of IG. I mean, simply because I don't do IG is not tantamount to saying that I don't know what's happening in there. You know, I am an
True.
insatiable student. I study.
They're learning all the time. That's what keeps you young. I want to talk about love. I want to talk about
Yeah,
love. I want to talk about only because it's February 1, it's the month of love. And of
love,
course,
love, love.
Tito Boy, you have been in a relationship for over 3 decades. And a lot of my followers, when I ask them, what do you want to ask Tito Boy? And they want to ask you, how do you have a relationship that spans more than 3 decades? What are the things that we should do to be able to have a relationship like yours with Tito Bong Quintana?
The answer to that again, G3, is I don't know. But I'll tell you a couple of things that we
You're
did.
so humble.
No. It may have worked. No, really. I'm just realistic. It may have worked for us, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it can work for all. The reason why I have no judgment, the reason why I look at everybody from a lens, G3, na wala kasi sa akin mayaman, sosyal, angat, if there is anything that's social or angat. Para sa akin wala eh. My lens, my prism is very simple. I look at people as people. I don't look at people as, you know, whatever. Wala ako nun. I have so much respect for the individuality of each one. That's a dangerous line because that can challenge the law of relativity. Kaya sinabi ko, what works for us, I can only share. If it works for you, fine. Kami ni Bong, we've been together for, what, 37 years now.
Oh
It's
my God,
not
almost 40.
yeah, it's not a perfect, yeah. And I met him when we were about 20. You can actually count my age.
When sila Gumbay? It's really hard to be in a relationship, sabi ni Wensi Lugumbay.
Hi, Wensi. No, there's no such thing, I think, as a secret. I have so much respect for individuality. You're two people, you're two very distinct individuals. And you have to discover what works and what doesn't work. And I'm talking about ugali, I'm talking about language, I'm talking about sex, I'm talking about money, I'm talking about, you know, jobs, I'm talking about families. Kanya-kanya tayo. Pero kami ni Bong, we talk. We talk a lot. We talk a lot. And, you know, not because I am very public. Bong is just as open as I am when we talk about these things. Hindi ako perfect. Bong is not perfect. I have sins. Bong has sins. It's that.
What?
You know?
Sins?
Kasalanan. We have sins.
Okay.
We've sinned against each other. You know, but we've also continually forgiven each other. We listen. We fight. You know? Pero, okay, to answer that question is, early on in our relationship, we have this commitment. Men and women use the word marriage. Kami ni Bong meron. It's a commitment, and it was verbalized. We verbalize this commitment. That whatever happens to us, we are in this relationship. Whatever happens to us, because we love each other, separating must never be an option.
Oh my God,
Must
very cute.
never
The
be an
David
option.
Smith and Will Smith. Not an option.
Talaga? No, I haven't
Ganun
seen
sila.
that.
Not an option. Not an
Jada
option.
and yeah.
She also has a talk show, Red Table. But
No. I know. I watched Red Table. I just missed that line from them because I listened to them. I listened to the both of them. It is not until this very moment. It is not an option.
Of course, like me, I have a lot of gay couple friends, like here and abroad. And what I found out that works for them to last that long, is really, I mean, they open the relationship. I mean, it's very common in the gay community and in gay relationships that are long-standing to open the relationship. I have a lot of gay friends that open their relationship, but they open their relationship only when they're together. I have friends that have, open relationships, meaning apart. They have different lovers apart, and then they come together, appreciating each other because, they finally got it out of their system. What can you say about that. Kasi di ba parang syempre, well, like people will always say that two men together is a recipe for, you know,
No,
monogamy.
there are people who have two ways of looking at it. Sobrang pagmamahal that they can give that to the partner. You know, I would understand that. I would not judge that. Number two, you need a lot of tenacity to be able to do that, because that can be dangerous. You know, when you get into
Yes.
a romantic,
Yes.
when you get into an emotional, romantic, sexual relationship with the other in the presence of your partner, that can be hell.
Detrimental.
No, that can be hell. But I am not saying that it cannot work.
Yeah.
Precisely my disclaimer in the beginning, G3, is when you get into a relationship, examine your relationship. Get to know each other. Do not follow the rules of others, because what worked for me may not work for you. Open relationships do not happen just to gay couples. Open relationships happen to all, because it
Oh,
is their
couple.
way of coping with, you know, the problems of relationships. It can be a solution, it may, but it can also be a dark episode of a relationship. It can bring them to a darker spot. So it depends. Listen, just listen.
Coming from a 37-year-old successful relationship, and you know the climate that we are in right now in the pandemic, di ba parang people say na parang, oh, it's better to be, you know, locked in with someone, it's better to be locked in outside of someone. But you know, like, di ba parang it also brought us to the fact of, you know, parang iniisip natin parang when will this be permanent for us, especially in the Philippines, diba? In 37 years of togetherness and, you know, the relationship with Tito Bong, did marriage ever, you know, become a factor in considering the permanence around your relationship?
Okay,
When will you ever get married?
wait. There are layers to your question. Number one, the being locked in because of the pandemic, and
Yes.
we talk about being together, relationships.
Kasi
Okay,
nagtitest siya, tinest niya yung mga relationships, di ba, Tito Boy?
that's right. You're correct. Uh, During the pandemic, you would realize this is a guy I'd like to spend the rest of my life with, or you realize that, hey,
Hindi.
this is not a
Oh.
guy I thought I would spend my life. But again, that's your decision, it's your story. And marriage. We've been together for so long. I have studied, I have watched the journey of the LGBT, the same-sex marriage, especially in America. I've read the decisions. I've read the Obergefell case. I love, adore the conclusion of Justice Kennedy, who passed on, was that last year or a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. Umiyak ako doon sa kanyang conclusion, sa kanyang desisyon, granting same-sex marriage in the United States of America. I'm very familiar with these stories. Ako, G3, I would get married for the legal reasons. I would get married. I am not a fan, Bong is not a fan either, of the ceremony at this point in our lives. Okay? I respect others. Tuwang-tuwa ako kay Junlana at saka kay Percy when we got married
Oh!
in
Sa New York,
the
sa
Central
Bethesda
Park. Diba?
Fountain,
Parang
oh.
wow, you know, that's the best. Or Ice and Lisa getting married. If it were to be offered to us to go to many years ago, it was something that we could have considered. But I would get married because I want Bong to have the right to my dead body if I pass on, and vice versa. I want Bong to have the rights to claim whatever I have, and in the same way, I have the right to claim whatever he has. You know, we want to have the rights. I want to have the legal rights, because we are in this world, and there are certain real things that we have to confront ourselves with. Yes, I am for marriage, and that is exactly why, in my own little way, I always say yes. I believe in marriage. I'm averse sometimes to saying same-sex marriage belongs to all of us. That's the right my parents had. Why shouldn't I have the same rights?
Totoo. Totoo.
Yeah.
That's also my beef, diba? Like, if you teach the kids today, diba, parang maybe later on the generations after us will have an easier time. And the reason why I think like most of us are single is because, you know, the mindset and the preconceived notions. And I hate it. I really hate it with a burning passion. But you know, some people get it right. You have gotten it right, and that makes us
Yeah,
very
and praise God. And
that makes
every
us
day,
very that makes us very hopeful, right?
No,
That
and
makes us very
also,
hopeful.
G3, having lived together for 37 years is not a guarantee to another day. You work hard at it. You talk about it. You still like each other. You have to find ways to laugh together. You have to tend to yourselves, as Ariana Huffington would say. You have to thrive. You have to thrive. You can't just live. But kanina, lest I be misunderstood that, it's a decision to live together for 37 years. If the question is, because I've been asked this a couple of times, not often, but Tito Boy, have you always been loyal? Have you always been faithful, etc.? Hindi naman. You cannot be. But somehow you do not premise your life around the capacity of your partner to forgive every time you go you go unfaithful. But it happens. Now I'm able to connect the dots. Now I'm able to look at things in retrospect, and I say, funny things, stupid things. But I wouldn't be here without those stupid things. And the relationship probably wouldn't have been bigger without Bong's and my sins. The thing is, we've been able to move beyond our mistakes, our weaknesses, our failings.
That's very mature. That's very mature. Not a lot of people understand that. Kailangan natin siguro a higher perspective talaga to be able to go through that, diba? I mean, like, it's such a, like, I don't know, if you're immature, you won't be able to go through that. But yes, I only ask this because diba, parang it is the month of love, parang
Yeah.
how far are we, do you think, Tito Boy, to the day that we will finally see equality in terms of love, in terms of, all of these things? I mean, like, I want to know if it's really gonna happen in my lifetime. I don't think so, but how far are we in our fight for equality?
Of course, we pray, G3. Pareho tayo. Parang we pray that it happens in this lifetime. We pray that it be given. I hate the word given because it should not be given to us. We own it. It's our
Yes.
birthright. My answer to that is, while some people, while the laws of many countries in the world still do not recognize this humanity, this equality that belongs to us from birth, I would like to say, and I address this to young LGBT people around the world, if they cannot treat us as equals, then let's treat ourselves as equals to anyone. Because there, we have control over that feeling. I treat everybody as an equal. Kaya sabi ko nga kanina, GC, ang lente ko, hindi lente na idinidikta sa akin. I refuse that. The lens that I use is the lens of love and equality. And when somebody tells me, oh, you have to do this, you have to speak like, you have to dress like this, I just say, listen, I am who I am and I'm fine. So if you're comfortable expressing yourself in a different way, respect that. So the answer to that question is, if someone doesn't treat you as an equal, don't go back by giving him the permission to treat you as somebody lesser than he is, but treat him as an equal. Treat him as an equal. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
What would you say to a very young gay boy only coming to terms with his being different from everybody else?
You're okay. You're in a better generation than us. You are in a better generation than us. There are times we talk. There are times we're silent. Because sometimes silence is eloquence. We have to be tactical in our battles. We have to fight well. And we're doing this because of you. Know that we're here trying to pave the way. But if you're having problems, we will do everything we can privately and publicly to make your life easier than what we had.
Does that make you jealous in any way na parang, the future generation of LGBT kids will have it better than us? Or how does that make you feel? Like, in the future, they will wake up to a future that is more equal than what we grew up in?
No, I feel happy. I'm happy to be part of this journey. I am too blessed to feel jealous about anything.
I'm a little bit jealous. I only ask because I'm a little bit jealous.
No.
Because I had a very difficult childhood. I want you to react to a quote by Martin Luther King as a second to the last question. My quote is, I researched this, I prepared for this. Tito Boy, I prepared for this interview. It's the only interview I prepared for.
Thank you, G3. Thank you.
Martin Luther King, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it always bends towards justice. How do you feel about that quote in terms of our current political situation? The
Can you
arc
can you
of the
say the
moral
first line again? Can you say the
the
first line
arc
again?
the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
Is what is lot?
Long. The
Ah,
arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
oh yes, that's very practical because Martin Luther King went through it, but it was not also easy. But just as an ad lib, G3, do you
Sige.
know that the 1963 Washington March, where
Mm.
Martin Luther King delivered the "I Have a Dream" speech, by the way, was organized by a gay man,
No!
Bayard
Really?
Rustin. Okay, I totally agree. I totally agree. And this is not just in the political context. You know, that journey is long, but it should lead us towards justice. Because, again, justice cannot be discussed without talking about equality. You cannot be just if you treat me like, you know, I go to my Brando, you know, I was watching all his interviews, and he didn't go to the Oscars because he felt that the Academy was not fair to Indians. And he kept on saying, Filipino houseboys, you know, the stereotyping during that time,
Yeah.
that when you know, when you said Filipino, you thought about you thought about help. So Martin Luther King is right. Martin Luther King is right. It's going to take us a long time, but as the first lesbian prime minister of Iceland said, Joanna Sigurðardóttir, I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Ang galing mo, naalala mo.
Yes, but this is in the context of that question. And I'd like to quote her. She said, "Our time will come." Ang unang mapikon talo eh. We just have to continue the journey. We have to continue the fight. In 1971, during the first march, which was considered, of course, the first Pride March, it was the Christopher Street Liberation Day.
New
Alam mo
York.
yung sinisigaw nila, G3, still the same line. Gay is good, gay is proud. You know, it's still the same, these are the same lines. So especially to the young LGBT people and to people around the world who are hoping for equality, for justice, takes a while, takes a while. We must not give up. We have different ways of expressing our participation in this journey, and so be it. Do not be discouraged by how others do it, because what you do is contributory to that journey. Martin Luther King is a testament that, you know, a testament that the civil rights movement persisted. G3, yung pinagdaanan nila, now that you raised it, is unthinkable. Remember, the blacks were not human beings. They were objects. They were being sold. They were being borrowed. They were properties. And how many years was that? 1963 to 2008, the first black president happened in America. So it takes some patience. It takes some patience. Tactics, you know, as Mandela would say, fight tactically. Because in the end, what is it that we want in the end? And what is the best way to get there? Is it patience? Is it love? Sometimes it can be anger. Sometimes it can be protestation. It can come in different ways. But the most important thing is you cannot, lalo na ngayon with the pandemic, we realize that we are not standalones. We realize that we need our neighbors to be able to navigate this world, that we need each other to take good care of each other. Because if we don't, who will?
Do you believe that the uprising of the middle class is what we are waiting for this brand new revolution to happen? Because I believe that there is a very good shaking that's happening in our nation. And it happens every so often, like maybe a couple of decades. And so I don't think it's going to be like, forgive me for saying this, but I don't think it's going to be, you know, the majority, the masses that are going to change the nation, but it's going to be the middle class, the working class that will change the nation. What do you think it would take for the middle class to finally stand up and take action and say enough is enough? We need a change. What do you think that change will be stimulated by?
From a political discourse point of view, the middle class used to be an active participant. I mean, let's talk about Thailand, for example.
Yes.
The military and the elites to the middle class caused, you know, expulsion of Taksin, for example. Okay,
Right.
and many other stories that are similar to our stories. There are really so many commonalities among peoples around the world. Ang pananaw ko, G3, is I'd like to see a change. I'd like to see a change that's premised around the individual and the family. To me, that's more transformative. Because remember, this is revolutionary in terms of idea. But the middle class also has an agenda. And that agenda is also self-preservation. Okay? So what am I trying to say? I hope it expands from the middle class to everybody. To everybody. And that can only happen if change is allowed to everyone, in terms of, let's say, education, in terms of, kasi lalo na ngayon, democratized.
Yes.
G3, you can go to the internet. You want to know something? Things that were not available in the past are available today. So, at saka napakahirap din i-define yung, sa ano na ba ang middle class natin ngayon? It's hindi na yung, the demographics even. I'm not challenging the scientific definitions of, income, this is the middle class, etc. But ngayon, everybody has access to knowledge. Everybody has access to what do you want to know? You go to Google, you go to the internet. Of course, there are.
Wait. Tito Boy? Tito Boy, I think you lost your audio. Ayan, bumalik na your audio.
Okay. Because we were talking about politics.
Yes. Talagang menu tayo. Anyway, just to end the politics, segment, do you think you will ever run for senator?
That had been dangled before me many times.
Many times.
That had been dangled before me. I've been invited formally to be in politics. In my small family, G3, I'm the only one who's not in politics. My sister is a congresswoman. My mother was into politics. Tatay got into small town politics. It's not in my belly yet. It's
wala
not.
pa.
Wala pa eh. And I'm not going to go into this platitude about public service, can be done even in private. No, I'm not going to go into that. Wala pa. Wala pang apoy sa sikmura ko. I'm waiting for that. But I'm not closing doors.
Yeah, but I mean, like the first gay president, parang Boy Abunda. I mean, like, diba?
This is not out. This is not out of false humility. But I know that our first gay president is just waiting in the wings. It's not me. It's not me. But it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Oh my God! From your lips to God's ears. That will be so great.
I really pray.
So great.
Who knows? The next gay president may just be eavesdropping on this conversation. Martin Luther King, when he declared, patawarin niyo po ako, I'm not going to the level of the great Martin Luther King. But when he dreamed the dream, remember, you have to know your history. Binigyan muna sila ng Jim Crow laws, equal but separate, etc. Yung mga pinaggagawa nila sa atin ngayon sa mundo. Okay? But look at Taiwan. Prevailed because they persisted. But what I'm trying to say is, let's not stop. Let's not back off. Let's just be there. Let's be present in the journey. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. One day, alam mo ako, G3, lalo na nung Dasera case, kahit in, people would ask me, what do you think about, the young gay boys and girls? Sabi ko, one incident is not enough to define or even to affect my hope for the best. Because I know one young gay boy, lesbian girl, a wonderful, intelligent, transgender woman, LGBT person out there will become president of this country. Believe me. I have not wavered.
Yeah, you mentioned, we're digressing, but when you mentioned the Sarah case, that was such a, like a very, very widely viewed, episode of your show on YouTube. What do you think, now defines, like after that interview, what do you think now defines the gay boy of this generation? Kasi syempre, di ba, marami tayong mga kaibigan na mga gays, alam naman natin yung kalakaran in terms of the gay world, but how did that case change your perception in terms of what the gay boy is, the Filipino gay boy is now in 2020, 2021?
I hope the effect of that image of the young gay boy is ephemeral, is fleeting. It should not in any way define the gay boy of today. Because you know what I think about a gay boy, or, you know, gay boy, because specifically they were involved in this particular case. You know, my perception of the gay boy today is someone who's free, that I didn't enjoy. Someone who has a certain amount of aggression to assert.
You can kiss a girl and still be gay.
Yeah, you know, and the gay boy or the gay girl today has a sense of community. He knows his importance. I didn't have that. I didn't have that. My sense, a sense of importance. Kaya, G3, I'm coming from that space when I say, and this is not a spiel, this is not a pitch. I'm coming from that space when I say that the gay president is going to happen. And I'm really praying that it happens in our time, in my time.
I hope in our lifetimes. That would be so fabulous.
Yeah.
Like, to say the
Oh my
least, that
God.
would be so fabulous. Tito
Yeah.
Boy, we've been talking for an hour. I want to thank you for giving me an hour of your time. My God, grabe. This has been a long time coming. I talked to Miko like a year ago. So, paano yan, wala siyang Instagram? But we finally made it happen. Apple suggested to me, paggamit mo na lang yung Instagram ko para mangyari yan. So, okay, go! But of course, this interview is not going to end without fast talk.
No, but let me just say that this has been one of my best conversations. What a wonderful,
you're lying.
spirited. I'm not flattering you, G3, but not that I didn't expect this, because I know you. Not that I didn't expect this. I expected this. I didn't expect anything less. But we've covered, you know, from my sins to the political theories and to Martin Luther King.
Pero I prepared kasi. Like, usually kasi when I have conversation, it's like super like, bahala na, I'm winging it. But now I prepared.
No, it was just really wonderful. It's really wonderful.
I'm so intimidated by
Thank you.
That's why I prepared.
No.
Like, I was thinking about this the whole week. I was, you know, like, I was texting Apples the whole week. Ate Apples, ganitong gagawin natin. I was calling Chessa like 3 times today. Anyway, let's do fast talk.
Thank you. Okay.
Let's do fast talk. Are you game?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, remember,
fast talk.
Yalamo G3, I know you've
Oh,
you've written a lot for ABS for me and a lot of shows that I've done. You know, I always say, ang tapang-tapang ko magtanong, dapat matapang din ako sumagot. Kasi pag hindi ko naman alam, sasabihin ko hindi ko alam. That's just the way the game goes. Okay?
Wait,
Go ahead.
I want to say thank you. I was interviewing for a job and you were the reference. I didn't even list you as my reference, but like the guy who was, you know, interviewing me for the job said like, Tito Boy gave his word of approval for you and that's all I needed. Tapos sabi ko, ha? Hindi ko nga siya list down eh. Pero salamat. I didn't get
You're
the
welcome.
job anyway. But I didn't get the job. But nagulat talaga ako. Sabi niya, parang si Tito Boy, sabi niya, okay ka daw. So, okay na ako sa'yo. Ganyan. Anyway.
You will always have my recommendation. You will always have my approval and my paghanga, my praise.
Thank
Thank
you, Tito Boy. My God, I learned so much from you. I continue to learn from you and I continue to believe in you. I hope one day you run for the Senate because that is my dream for you. Sana i-consider mo yan for 2022. Let's do fast talk.
Okay.
Twitter or Instagram?
I'll go for Twitter.
Showbiz or politics?
Showbiz.
Facebook or YouTube?
YouTube.
Beauty or brains?
Beauty.
Manila Lipa or Samar?
Samar.
Designer boots or designer coats?
Designer coats.
Sinigang or adobo?
Adobo.
Guapo o matalino?
Guapo.
Pisoy or moreno?
Moreno.
Afam or Pinoy?
Pinoy.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Dinner.
Best interview?
That one is yet to come.
Worst interview?
I I hope it doesn't come.
Nora or Vilma?
Nora.
Chris or
Nora.
Corina?
I'm sorry?
Chris or Corina?
Chris or Corina?
Yes.
Of course, Chris is, a closer friend of mine. I mean, Coring is
Lights
also a
on or
friend.
lights off?
Lights on.
Favorite part of a man's body?
That one.
Three.
That one. The face.
Armpit.
Ayaw. Tatlo ba? Tatlo.
Tatlo.
And the lips. Is that part of the face?
Oo.
Shoulders dapat. Okay.
Favorite part of your body?
My mind. Napaka ano, no?
Describe Bong in 3 words.
Wow. In 3 words. He is forever. I will not go to the adjectives. I will not go into the adjectives. I'll give you 3 words. He is eternal.
Very, 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 very pretty ka dyan. Sex or chocolate?
Sex!
Top or bottom?
I'm sorry. I don't subscribe to that. I don't. Totoo yun. If I can explain more, I will.
Foreplay, sabi mo.
I will be even graphic.
Okay, as a last question, complete the statement. Love wins because...
Love wins because nothing else matters.
Tito Boy, maraming salamat. Oh my God, you made this like my favorite interview ever, and I'm interviewing the Vice President. He will kill me, but yes, thank you so much. I hope you have a safe drive back to Lipa. You're going back to Lipa, no?
No, to Tagaytay. I'll be to Tagaytay. I'm going to Tagaytay tonight. I just want to say thank you, G3. I just want to say thank you. I know we had technical problems, but nothing could ever stop this interview from happening. Thank you for just being you, and thank you for all that you do. Thank you for just celebrating life. I had a friend, I spoke to him just before this interview. Sabi niya, you're doing an interview with G3. Sabi ko, wow, Sabi niya, yeah, I listen, I watch her. Totoo to, ha? And I know he's there. His name is Dexter. Dexter Hubag, are you there? But anyway, Dexter's there. And he follows you. Sabi ko, what is it about G3 that you like? It's the vigor. It's the love for life. It's the laughter. Totoo. Sabi ko, wow, thank you. Because sabi ko, she's all of the above. And I thank you. Thank
you, Tito Boy, for everything that you taught me in all. Mula pa nung neneng baklita pa lang ako. Like, beautiful draga. I mean, like, you have always been there. Every year, I learn something from you, and I learned so much from you for this interview, and you never change in terms of looks, in terms of everything. You are eternal. You are an eternal.
He is eternal.
My only dream is really you run for the Senate, so I have a chance to vote for you. I hope you think about it, because I really just want to vote. I mean, like, in my to-do list, I really just want to vote for you for senator. So I hope you think about it, and I want to thank you for giving me this wonderful interview. I know that you have to, be on the road. Maraming salamat. I hope you sleep on the road, because I kept you up until 10. Salamat.
Salamat, G3, and you have my love. Thank you.
I love you. Bye. Good night.
Love you. Bye-bye.